So I think I want a little bit of a break from talking a ton, and we have some UI features that I need to fix. So I think what I'll do is I'll do those little UI fixes. I'll show how to adjust icons and drop icons, and maybe we'll make this F1 thing a little bit smaller and less conspicuous so it's easier to work on the game, stuff like that. I guess to start, I'm just going to start with this. So F1 is very important, and that's why we've made this giant prominent thing. When there is a mismatch between the data for your game and like the data in your database and your player's save data, you will get unexpected buggy behavior. And you're going to get mismatches like that a lot when you're first developing your game. So basically what I mean is you add a new starting piece of equipment to the game. Say you've added an axe. But your character was created when the game only had a shovel. So now when you hit play, you just don't have the axe and you can't test it. If you hit F1, we reset your player character in the game back to what a brand new player would see. And that would then allow you to test out your new axe. So that's why we've made this so prominent, but we don't actually need it to be like that once you understand it. So just to make it easier to design the UI around, I'm just going to get rid of most of it and just leave, still F1 is fine, but I don't need all this other stuff. We'll move it down a little bit because sometimes it's over the preview text. Even that text doesn't really need to be all that. I'm just going to write F1. I get the idea. I know how it works. We don't need a giant thing there, but we could make it a little bigger, I guess. Okay, so we got that F1 thing to be a bit less conspicuous. Let's go. If you're not noticing what I'm doing here, I'm clicking on the UI panel button so that I can click on these elements and jump to where they are in the thing. So we did notice before that one of our teleports wasn't working. Our teleport to town worked, I believe. It's set to Coral Town and to center, but our teleport home wasn't working. So let's go see what that's actually set to. Yeah, it's set to front yard, which is no longer going to be accurate. So the lot type is now not front yard, it is house entrance. And the spawn point key, at least the one that we're using for now. So that's probably all that was wrong with that teleporter. It'll probably work fine now. The next thing we wanted to take a look at was our currency icons. So let's click to our jump to our currency display. We can see it's here. We are going to duplicate it though, because we need 3 of them. We have 3 currencies now. I probably actually will eventually abandon them because I want to really change the look of this UI quite a bit, but that's fine. For now, we will just do this. Right now they're all overlapping, which is not what we actually want, so we'll just move them so we can see them. And we set the currencies up, remember, in the database. So this currency display just knows what to load based on these IDs. So let's put these IDs into these boxes. Hopefully I've done this right. We'll do a little test. Okay, that's pretty good. The icons are terrible because we've, again, not adjusted them. But other than that, it looks right. We're getting 3 things. Let's try teleporting home and see what happens. Yeah, it worked. It teleported me to my house when I hit H, so that's cool. That's working now, and the F1 is much less obnoxious. So what I'll show you next is how to adjust icons, because that's obviously something that needs to be done to a lot of that. And after I'm done adjusting the icons, I think I'm going to do a little bit of UI kit bash, but I'll just speed through that because I'm not actually going to implement the UI. I'm just going to do the art for it and decide what it looks like. When it's time to implement it, then I'll explain what I'm doing. 3D icons need how they work is that we make a piece of art, a 3D kitbashed object, and then that art is resed inside of this, or spawned inside of this box, and the camera takes a picture of it and saves it. So this is essentially a photo booth box. All of the art needs to look good from the perspective of this camera in order for this to be attractive. So what I normally do, let's go get our currency. It's the icon one that we want. So here's our 3 currencies. I'm going to go into the icon container and I'm going to pull those 3 currencies in here, and then we're going to make a couple of them invisible so that we can just work on them one at a time. So this is a little bit complicated because this object here, we don't want any transforms on it in the final thing, but I often put the transforms on the outside and then zero it out when I'm done, just because it's easy to grab, and I'll probably do that here. So what I do is I'll grab it, I'll position it roughly where I think it's going to need to be, and then once I've got it, you know, sort of into this blue box roughly, then I click on this camera. You need to hit V so you can see it, and then I click on the camera again in this viewport and hit move camera to selected object. That adjusts my camera view so that I'm looking at what the camera would see, and then I just adjust this so I can see the whole thing, and then you can hit V again to hide the camera. So now when I click on my object, it's closer to what it will be in when the camera's taking the picture. So we just want it to like fill up a lot of this frame so it looks good when it's at the top of the screen. So as I said, this needs to be zeroed out. We actually need the transforms to be inside here on this geo object, but there's a way you can just do that. If you just right click here, you de-instance it, and then you can hit reset relative transform, keep child world transforms. So that turns all of this stuff back to 0, and then you can hit update template from this, and now if I hit play, oh oops, let me delete these out of here actually before I hit play. Otherwise they'd be in the background of all the icon shots. When I hit play, you can see we have a much nicer look size-wise, although our decal isn't working. I'm not sure, maybe decals can't work in that context. I'll have to mess around and see what's wrong there. Okay, I figured out what was wrong, and it's actually a bit of a dangerous thing. I might want to change this and not use a decal here. For now, I'm going to, but what you need to do if you're using a decal on your thing, on any icon, likely this is going to be the case, is set the relevance to critical. Because what was happening is that this photo booth is far away from the player. It's not near them, so the game was thinking that it wasn't important to display that decal. I wish that relevance was also based on the this render to texture camera as well, but it's not, so just watch out for that. Okay, so we're just going to quickly hit play now, and there you can see my little lore points up in the corner with the crab on them. So yeah, that's something to watch out for. Considering how that works, I'd actually advise probably just not doing what I did and not using a decal on anything that needs to be an icon, a render to texture icon. So I'm going to adjust all these icons, but I'm not going to show you, like, I'll record the video, but I'm not going to talk through it as I do the rest. I'm going to adjust the equipment, the material icons we've added. I'm going to adjust a whole bunch of things like that. Okay, so we finished off our icons. Everything should be good now, hopefully. Hopefully we didn't miss anything. We're just going to hit play and see how things have panned out. Those all look a lot better. I'll probably keep fiddling with them, but the ones in the top are simpler to read. You know, you can see the stone now. The other ones I adjusted aren't actually in the game yet, so yeah, this seems pretty good. And you can see that I have 12 experience points, which is good. That means that when I was previously breaking rocks, those experience were accumulating there. Now I'm up to 15, so that's great. That's all working. So I'm just going to do a couple minutes of Kitbash, or not Kitbash, UI work, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, I think I'm going to stop working on this here. As you can see, I haven't actually built a UI. What I did was go through and look at some elements that I could maybe use to build a UI that might be appealing looking and watery, since that's the theme of my game. I'm still not entirely sure what I want to do, but I'm fairly confident that if I made the backgrounds of my icons either like blue or purple or black, I could probably make something work. So I'm going to keep this big mess that I've just made. But what I'm going to do, okay, so what I'm going to do with it is just force it off for now until I'm ready to keep working with it. So I'm just going to force it off and lock it. And oh, before I lock it, I should rename it. I'm just going to be like work in progress UI. So it's just locked and out of the way, and I'll keep picking at it again later. And that's it for this video.